In this video, I'm going to demonstrate upgrading some plugins for Datasette 1.0 Alpha 20 using a bunch of different coding agent tricks. So I released this version of Datasette just a few days ago. It's an alpha, which makes quite a major change to a bunch of internal bits and pieces of Datasette. And that means that there are dozens, if not hundreds of plugins that need to be upgraded. So I've got an issue here that's a tracking issue listing some of the plugins that I want to upgrade, because I know that these ones have tests that are broken on the new version. And let's just dive straight in and upgrade one. We'll start with Datasette Checkbox. Sounds fun. This is a very cute little plugin. All it does is it adds interactive checkboxes to columns in Datasette. So and I haven't used this in so long, I can't remember exactly how it works. It looks for any column with a name that starts with is or should or has, and is of type integer. Okay, that sounds fun. Let's, I've got all of these checked out in my ecosystem, what's it called? Datasette checkbox. So here's the code for that. We'll pop that open in VS Code. And in most of these plugins, the real work happens in the, go away, Klein. The real work happens in the init file. So this file here. So we've got this file, and really most of what this plugin is doing is adding a big block of JavaScript and sticking that into the Datasette environment. So the question is, why did the test file fail? Interestingly, I have this command called TAD, which stands for Test Against Datasette Dev. It's here, and I do cat, which TAD, I could see the source code for it. And all it does is it runs a UV against the current editable thing with my editable checkout of Datasette as well. And then it runs the Python tests. So when we ran that just now, we got an error that said, oh no. When we ran TAD just now, we got an error that complains about mismatched dependencies. And actually, if we go and look in the PyProject tunnel for this, and while I'm in here, I'm going to quickly fix this. I happen to know that these are no longer valid. And look, for some reason, we decided to pin this to version 1.0 A19. So I'm going to change it to allow for any version like that. You know what? I think this might have been a bad example to start with. I think we're done here. Let's test this thing anyway. So taking a look at this, what this does is it says, oh, you know what? I think our test suite is incomplete on this one. Look at this. All the tests are doing are checking that the plugin is installed. But actually, I happen to know that if this was to run, this would fail because the Datasette.permission allowed method has been renamed. So I think we need a new test. And what that test is going to do is it is going to make sure that the extra JavaScript here has been added to the respected page. Let's see. Well, first of all, let's see this fail with our own eyes. I'm going to create myself a database, SQLite utils create table. It's going to be called demo.db. It's going to have a table called demo. And that table is going to have an ID integer and an is checked integer as well. I'll set the primary key to ID. There we go. Now I've got a demo DB. You know what? Let's add a record to that as well. So I'm going to say SQLite3 demo.db.schema, insert into demo, ID is checked, values 1, 0. And we'll add a 2, 1 as well. So now we've got 2 records in that table. Time to run Datasette. I'm going to start by running my default Datasette just to see this. There's our demo table. There we've got those 2 columns that we just added. So that's not particularly interesting, because what we really want to do is run against development Datasette. So we're going to run the development version of Datasette, which, to show you what that looks like, it's which rad. Here's that script. It's doing UV run isolated with this thing's editable with my recent checkout Datasette as well. I'm pretty confident this will fail. I can do RADD. There we go. If I go here, oh, that's database.found because I've got to select that database. Dataset object has no attribute permission allowed. This is the error that I was expecting, and the thing which our test suite did not protect us against. So let's add ourselves a failing test. What I can do, and you know what? I'm going to say, I'm just going to get rid of this one and say test plugin adds JavaScript. So what I do now is I do that. I can do dataset.add memory database called test, or let's call it demo again. I need to actually create a table in there. So I can do, if I do db equals that, I can do await db dot execute write, create table test. Oh, look at that. That is the correct way to do that. That's good. And I do actually need to do dataset await dataset.invoke startup as well, just to make sure dataset is fully configured. Now, if I go to this page here, what's this going to be? /demo/table. Oh, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to, no, I think that'll do the job. So now, here's our test, right? If that returns a 200 code, everything is working correctly. So now I'm going to tad, and we got a 404. Why would we get a 404? Dataset has a memory database called demo. That's got a database called test. I call it table in here. That's why. That's called test and this test. There we go. Dataset object has no attribute permission allowed. So we have an option here. We could meticulously go through the upgrade guide here, and it's got all sorts of details on what's changed, and we could manually edit everything here. Or we could cheat. I'm going to use OpenAI's Codex tool here, and I'm going to basically execute it and say, run the command tad, look at the errors, then read that upgrade document and apply fixes and run the tests again and get them to pass. Let's see what happens if we do this. So it's up and running. The exit. Oh, I found a test. Yep, that is indeed a failing test. That's good. It's thinking about it. Now it's investigating. It's reading that upgrade document. It's made itself a little. It's read that. It's reviewing the plugin files, trying to create a plugin file. What does it mean by that? It's already got a plugin file. Investigating the dataset allowed method signature, analyzing permission parameters usage, checking if it's been. So it's actually going through here. It's going through all of the changes that I described in that upgrade guide and checking which ones are needed. I happen to know that only one is needed. It needs to change how it calls that allowed method. Okay, it's digging around in more code. What if it's made any edits yet? We can actually tell by looking in here. So it hasn't edited it yet. When it edits it, when that changes to be dataset.allowed, which it just did. There we go. That was the edit made by the coding agent. It's checking if the update row permission is available to the current actor. If it is, it'll turn the JavaScript. If it isn't, it won't. So an interesting thing is about to happen. When it runs the tests will pass. There we go. Tokens used. It's swapped the deprecated permission check for the new one. So the tests pass now. That's good. And if we do the rad thing again, we no longer get an error on this page. So that's good. But we haven't actually seen the feature work yet. So we can do that here by accessing this as the root user. The root user, which you get by clicking on this magic URL, has got the necessary permission. And there it is. So look, we're now updating our database by clicking these little buttons. That's the feature that was added by the plugin. That's cool. Our test doesn't actually check that happens, though. We'd like our test to confirm that the root user does indeed get that JavaScript. And the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to do a pytest.mark.parameterize, and I'm going to say is root, comma, false. There we go. So now this test is going to be run twice. The first time with isRoot set to false, and the second time with isRoot set to true. In both cases, we're going to say dataset.root enabled equals true. That's the feature in the test suite that tells Dataset to allow root users to do anything they like. And now we can say that when we do the client.get, we need to pass in some cookies. And there is documentation on the Dataset website about how to do this. It's in the testing plugins thing. Well, maybe I haven't documented this here yet. That's a little bit disappointing. We're looking, basically, we need to set the DS actor cookie. Oh, it's because I'm not on the development version of the docs. Here we go. The DS actor cookie, external plugins, testing plugins. This document has it. So there we go. We need to set cookies equals this. In fact, what we'll do is we'll set cookies equals that, and we'll say if is root, then cookies DS actor equals that. Now we can pass cookies equals that. And so now we're running the test twice, once with our root user logged in and once without. And now all we have to do is pick a representative string of this JavaScript. Let's go with this here. Snippet equals that. And now we can say if is root, else assert.js snippet not in response.txt. Let's see if this works. I'm going to run black against it. Now, if we do turned, table test already exists. That's because we are running this thing twice. I'm just saying create table if not exists. And our tests pass. I'm really happy with this. I think this plugin is now completely upgraded. Let's see, what have we done? We've changed that permission check. That was the right thing to do. We've made a few little changes to this by project toml, and we've added a proper test. I'm going to say get commit upgraded. Actually, I've got a suggestion of the commit message on here, I think. There we go. Git commit that. So the datasets checkbox for dataset greater than 1.820, it references 2577, which is that issue that we've been working from here. If we push that, that should show up down here. There it is. The reason I put the name of the project in the commit message is that if you don't, you get, and this is, I think, a GitHub bug, you get a commit message here, a commit here that doesn't actually tell you which repo it was attached to. But here, because I put the folder name in, I get dataset checkbox for so-and-so. So that's good. Now what we need to do is release the version. Let's see, our current version number of this is 0.1A3. I can bump it to 0.1A4. Release. Let's push that up. And now, in the GitHub repository itself, which was dataset checkbox, just make sure those tests pass. If that thing there turns green, which it should do, the last one turned green, then we're good to go. Create new release. I can say, well, it's called that. I'm going to create a tag called 0.1A4. Just before I do this, I'm going to double check that this is properly configured to ship to the correct, to release products. It's got a GitHub workflow, which does the GX. This bit of magic down here means that it will automatically release to PyPI when I ship release on GitHub. And then again, I've got a suggested release notes here that I can use. Upgrade compatible with dataset 1.0820. That's it. I'm setting it as a pre-release because it's still an alpha. The reason it's an alpha is it depends on a dataset alpha, and I always try and release my plugins as alphas if their dependencies are alphas as well. That should do it. So now, I was slightly impatient. That's interesting. I was expecting this to have fully passed by now. Okay, well, I was slightly impatient, but if the tests fail, the release won't go out here either. So not but one A4. The testable passed here. It's now running the deploy. The deploy installs, just does a quick Python-m build to build the wheel file. And then it does this little piece of magic with the GH-action PyPI publish package, which handles like a path tokenless authentication with PyPI. That's it. View at both. This is the new release. Excellent. I've been dropping this into editing this ticket here and adding links to the ones that I've published here. And there's one last experiment we can do. We're actually going to run that entirely from PyPI just to make sure it works. I could do that with the UVX -- with datasets. What was this thing called? Dataset checkbox, right? Checkbox. I'll add UVX -- with dataset checkbox -- with. I think that'll do it actually, -- root, and I'm going to give the path to my dev ecosystem dataset checkbox DemoDB. That's because I put two hyphens there. Here we go. So look at this. Oh, interesting. It says pre-releases weren't enabled. Try pre-release allow. Let's try that. Pre-release allow. Should I spell that wrong? Pre-release equals allow. Here we go. So this is installed fresh from PyPI. The plugin does indeed work. We can hit the plugins page here to see that version 0.1 A4 has been installed. So we're done. That is the dataset checkbox package upgraded to dataset 1.0.